when you look at the pictures, it's pretty brutal. They yank a chair from under her feet. She basically falls staggering to the ground. She's punched in the stomach. I don't care if she's a deplorable human being. Those were ugly images, not what you expect from British policing.
I agree. I think the demonstration was out to cause a bit of a publicity. And what I want to know is, why did the police allow themselves to be in that? Are they thick? Are they stupid? Why would they do that when they know everybody is filming on a phone? Why would they do that?
I think the police are under a lot of pressure at the moment. There's been
I don't care. I don't. No.
I'm not saying it justifies that behaviour.
This woman could have been winding them up. She could have been shouting abuse. The people behind her could, but there is absolutely no reason why they had to behave in the way that you described.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, she could be a professional protester. She could go to protests all over the place. She could just be full of hatred for the police. But you do not behave like that. They should have lifted her up, taken her away. There was no need to behave like that. Graham Wetton is a policing analyst and author of How to Be a Police Officer. You must be embarrassed, Graham.
Not really, no.
Well, you flipping well should be. Why aren't you? Why aren't you embarrassed about the way these police officers behave? Why?
After that lead up, I'm not sure how I can be.
Hang on, mate. Hold on, Graham. Hold on. This is a serious situation and you're laughing. That doesn't bode well. Be very careful, my friend, okay?
What I'm going to say is, you're talking about picking her up. I'm laughing because you can't just bend down, pick somebody up in that scenario. It's not.
I don't care what you can do. You don't hit them in the stomach. You don't tip them off a chair. You don't behave in that way.
It wasn't a hit or it wasn't a punch. It was probably a push away, which looks like a punch. It's a push away. The
didn't look like a push away to me.
Well, it's a push away. So it's a heel palm strike, it looks like to me, which is an officer safety train tactic.
Heel palm strike could be very... Listen, hang on. No. Just before you gloss over that, I know exactly what a heel palm strike is, and it can be very, very nasty if it's used by somebody who's professional, and these guys are professional in using it.
Yeah,
and if they used it on a lady I knew, I would be very, very angry.
Well, the people there were told to leave. They have been. You heard this: engage, explain, encourage. They'd have been told to leave, advised to leave, persuaded to leave, and then given a warning to leave and disperse.
So then what we do is we set the police on people in this country? Is that what we do? We set them like Rottweilers on the police? Is that what we do, Graham?
What they're trying to do is disperse them from the square. They're all breaking the law. They're breaking the regulations about dispersing and congregating. They were told to leave. They were advised to leave. The police then has to go in and disperse them. If you're going to stay there and put yourself in that situation, and the police are going to use force to disperse you, either to push you away or to move you
police with consent in this country, and if the majority of people don't consent to something in this country, then the police have to go away, and the police hierarchy and the politicians have to discuss it and come again. We do not use bully boy tactics and that sort of force. It's not right. And I'm one who defends the police most of the time, but I'm feeling embarrassed at the moment.
Wasn't there a situation in that very same protest that a German doctor was arrested just before he was about to make a speech, giving his evidence about, where he thinks government policy on COVID is wrong? And the man was shuffled off, quite bloody heavy-handedly into the back of a police van. And I didn't see a similar level of conviction when it came to policing when we had the BLM protests, for example. It seemed to me the police were hard line.
Where were you in that? Where were you on the sort of the eco warriors who were blocking the bridges? Where were the police there?
They were there, and they arrested hundreds at the XR demonstrations. But the XR demonstrations were completely different. It's a non-violent, direct action protest. They were sitting down, refusing to move. So you can then go in, pick
the
them
BLM
up,
wasn't.
and walk them away.
The BLM wasn't. They were running battles, and I didn't see the police behaving as badly as this.
Yeah, apparently they were. I did radio interviews saying the police use excessive force against BLM protests. We had mounted branch horses doing charges along Whitehall. That's an excessive use of force, but it was justified on the day because of the violence being used against police. We had officers with shields and helmets being deployed in central London. So
maybe what the mistake you made, Graham, maybe the mistake the police made, Graham, is that they didn't send the right kind of police in to disperse this demonstration. They sent in ordinary police officers, from what I could see, who were not actually wearing protective gear mainly.
On Saturday they were wearing protective gear.
Well, they didn't seem to be in a way where they could control the masses without getting into fights, and that just can't happen in this country.
They had PPE on, they had their helmets on their belts, and they went into the crowd to disperse them. And,
What were the helmets doing on their belts? Why were they on their belts and not on their heads?
Because there wasn't the threat of missiles and objects being thrown at them. So it's a command decision to deploy your officers, because it looks so oppressive. You put officers in full PPE, i.e. helmets, etc. That's why they got their baseball caps on.
I don't know. I think a police helmet is a very respected thing in this country.
Exactly.
Not a normal beat duty helmet, like a crash helmet with a visor down.
Have we got really wet commanders and chief police constables who are so woke in this country that they don't actually give their police officers on the ground the right instruction? And then the police officers get themselves into a situation where they kind of lose their tempers and perhaps overcompensate for not being given the right kind of message at the beginning.
No, I don't think so. No, and I don't think they were losing their tempers. Again, you get these videos are a snapshot, a small part of what's gone on during the day, so you haven't got no idea what happened before that.
Well, it doesn't matter what happened before that. There is no excuse for doing what they did to this lady, and whether she was the most annoying woman ever.
I mean,
Alex.
I think, look, the footage for me, when the chair was pulled out from underneath her, if she had gone to the floor and cracked her head, if she had gone to the floor and broken her neck, I mean, this would be a whole different story. Like I said, I don't care if she's deplorable.
We could do the what ifs all night. What if actually did? She landed on her feet and then went back into the crowd to confront the police again. So from the clips I've seen, and again, as far as I know, no complaints been made. She hasn't come forward. There's some debate going online about whether the age of the lady, but that's almost irrelevant to.
It is irrelevant.
I get that, but there's a huge debate about whether it was set up, it was put on by people, it's deliberately being filmed, it was deliberately exaggerated.
Hang on. That's
people
what
do that
people
all the time.
do.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys have got to behave with more professionalism. You can't behave like that. If you stop me because I'm in a car speeding or something, and you try and get, or I'm in the wrong, whatever I'm doing, if I'm stopped in a car, and I was to get my phone on video and record the whole thing, unless you were really polite, bit like the American police are, except when they get sort of over, they'll call you sir and madam and everything. Don't start that. And you have got to be you're always going to get stupid people, but I thought we were more intelligent in this country. Why do the police keep getting themselves in a situation where somebody can film them and put a film out that makes them look bad? Why is it going on? Is it the individual people who are becoming police officers, or is it the commanding officers that have no control? Well, what is it?
Because people are taking a snapshot of one incident without the full context of what's gone on that led up to it. So you're only ever getting like a 10 or 15 second snapshot of what's happened beforehand. So there could have been violent confrontations going on at Trafalgar Square, around the square. It wasn't a huge crowd there, but they needed to disperse them. So the officers have been deployed to disperse the crowd. They faced violent confrontations. You look on some of those images.
But hold on. You say they faced violent confrontations in this sentence, but a while ago you said they didn't need to wear their helmets because it didn't look particularly violent or dangerous. Right. So which was it? Was it violent and dangerous that you needed to charge people with horses like you did the BLM protests and wear your full PPE, or was it non-violent and this woman, however deplorable she was shoved off a chair and you say she was pushed with a palm or punched is how it looked. I mean, it's one or the other. She didn't seem to me to be someone who was, carrying concealed weapons and posing a threat, and the police outnumbered her by a lot.
It's not about numbers. And from what I've seen, she's had either a walking stick or something in her hand that she was standing on a chair with and looked to be either waving it or gesturing towards the officers.
Well, it's even worse if she's had a walking stick, isn't it?
Sorry.
I mean,
Graham, there is no way you can win this competition of saying, the police officers need to be more intelligent and need to understand in these days of social media that they can be made very easily to look bad. So they've got to work even harder at not doing that.